transportation is definitely one of our biggest problems, without question. And Ryan, okay, Mehdi, whoever Ryan Dawson is, please connect with Rachel on that. I'm not familiar with him, neither is Jen. So if you can, that would be great. Fuzzy
Country
balls.
Western singer, unless it's Dolly, there's no point. There's no.
We could talk to. We could. Jordan hasn't been on in a while. Jordan's definitely a possibility for Thursday.
Yeah.
Jordan on his availability. Hassan Ook. Okay, you guys.
Ryan didn't respond the last time I reached out. Now, whether it's just he's busy or whatever it is, I don't keep reaching out when people. He doesn't love AOC. In fact, he just called her out. I mean, he does.
We're going to get to AOC tonight, guys.
So
we're going to get to her shortly.
Look, yeah.
Yeah, she ain't getting off scot-free tonight. That's for sure.
Yeah, Blakely.
So transportation is one of the big. We can invite Blakely. Yeah, Blakely would be cool. I want to be very clear. Blakely has a stalker, like a serious Zio.
Really?
Right now, yeah. Mm-hmm. So transportation is definitely one of my passion projects, as is nuclear energy, and I am a huge advocate for high-speed rail. When people ask, well, why is Brightline having the problems in the state of Florida that they're having? Because Brightline is all privately funded. It's a rich man's project. It is not. That's the type of project that if you are going to tax the population, you tax them for the greater good of society, which is public transportation. And in a state like Florida, which is the third most populous state, and the worst part about Florida is that not only are we the third most populous state, but it's highly densely concentrated areas all surrounding the coastlines. So it's not like this is a state that has a population like California. Even California's guilty of it too, but like a state like New York, where outside of New York City, you still have developed areas people can live in. The state of Florida, it goes from hyper densely populated to extremely rural. And that doesn't help people that are trying to get around. And especially since everything is done by car, now you have the issue here when, Brightline is trying to provide an alternative, but it's overly expensive. And why is that? Because it's a privately funded operation. And they're in it for the money. There is no public good. That doesn't exist in Florida. So this is a problem.
Have you done the Brightline? Have you traveled on the Brightline?
I've never done it, but I heard it's great.
I did. And I have some thoughts. But I think it is nice. It's, there are certain things that are good and not good about it. But I think that one of the bad things, I don't know if you know, they have a very high death toll in terms of fatalities and accidents at intersections. And
yes,
that's something.
But you know what? That's Darwinism in the state of Florida, as far as I'm concerned.
It is, but I want to suggest that the way Florida is constructed, that where any rail would be, where they're putting the Brightline, it's completely intersected with commuter traffic, right? So when you go to places that have better infrastructure, China, places like that, their rail is not intermixed with their pedestrian traffic, right? And that's our biggest problem. So even though we're doing it, our entire base infrastructure just is not set to accommodate it. It's a real situation.
Pay close attention to this clip because there's a very important message that's kind of hidden here, but pay attention.
Mass transit has recovered better than other cities since the pandemic. The service is reliable and the system is safe. There's just one problem. It costs too much. Not the price you pay when you tap your card. That actually doesn't even come close to covering the cost of your trip. Federal, state, and local subsidies accounted for just over half of the system's operating costs before the pandemic. In 2024, it was 85%. And a lot of that burden is falling on the D.C. government. D.C. now spends more on WMATA, the city's public transit agency, than it does on police.
Good.
You say that like that's a bad thing.
I don't understand. I'm not understanding how is that a problem? I don't get it.
Well, keep in mind that this is not the National Review. This is the Washington Post. Just saying.
And DC has its own budget problems with funding other vital public services. About 70% of operating costs come from just one source, labor. WMATA employs 13,681 workers to complete 304.7 million trips a year. That's about 1,000 more workers than it had in 2014, when it completed over 100 million more trips. For perspective, Berlin's public transit authority, with over 3 times as many annual passengers as WMATA, has 16,500 employees.
Here is the one and only thing that I'm going to say in his defense from a
Oh,
libertarian.
WMATA is the Washington D.C. Metro Transit
Transit
Authority.
Mhm.
That's what, yeah, for DC, it's the DC Metro Authority.
Correct. So here's the one thing I will say in his defense, and this is my libertarian side coming out. I do believe in efficiency. I do believe that there is a problem. The government is way too big and that people have jobs that they don't necessarily need. But this is also one of the primary arguments for a federal jobs guarantee. There are plenty of jobs out there that are not being filled that could be filled if we were willing to train people in order to do them. This is one of the reasons why I'm an advocate for publicly funded trade schools and tuition-free public college. Because again, if you don't actually need that many people working for the MTA, if you will, then come up with another solution. Not come up with, well, we should just kick these people to the curb. No, these people.
I am not understanding what his complaint is yet. Right now, this man is just sitting here and spewing facts that mean absolutely nothing without context. And I'm not getting what his context is. Like, what's he saying? That they're inefficient? We'll say they're inefficient, but why are you picking on, like, I don't understand.
He's picking on labor. He's not picking on the, again, why pick on the workers? Okay, this is the thing.
That's what I don't understand. He's making this thing like we're spending more money on transportation than policing, and oh my God, we're hiring more people than we used to. I don't understand what he's saying.
Let me also point this out because we were just in DC. When you go into the metro, with rare exceptions, like if you're going through the 7th and 8th Ward, which I think primarily covers, I think it's the Green Line, if I'm not mistaken, almost all of the transit lines, especially 5 of the 6 transit lines in the city, they are clean, they are efficient, they've been kept up, and you don't have a million police like you do in New York crowding the subway cars. You don't have that. And yet, most people, I think, would admit that they feel pretty safe when they travel the trains in Washington, D.C. So this idea that, oh my God, we're paying more money for people to work as members of the transit authority than we are for the police department. I mean, what in the ever-loving hell are you doing? Like, how is that?
Again, I'm still, let's see what his point is, because I have yet.
WMATA has taken a significant step in the right direction to save transit in a world where more people work from home by approving a plan to fully automate the Red Line. But it's going to cost almost $1 billion. That's only worth it if labor expenses will be cut once the project is done. The problem is that making those cuts requires taking on the transit workers union and circumventing an archaic federal law that prevents job cuts at transit agencies that take federal funding.
Once again, this is the Washington Post.
Okay, so the Washington Post. Okay, so Jeff Bezos is arguing for the automation of transit and not having it be about workers running the transportation. Is that what I'm getting? Like, they're wanting to basically get rid of employees and have that just be robotic?
All right. Yeah.
Oh, I hope that, let me tell you, I want that to be sabotaged with nobody getting hurt so badly.
Except for him.
Maybe him.
WMATA needs a credible plan to reduce operating expenses. And the only serious way to do that is to make significant labor cuts.
That's the only way to do it? That's it?
That's the only way.
Just labor cuts.
You know what that is? It's very reminiscent of propaganda, where they tell you, here's the problem, here's the only solution, and the only solution is our solution.
I have an idea. Why don't we reduce some of those subsidies for the military-industrial complex and make sure that that money is facilitated to keep the MTA going at the rate that it's going at? Because I got to tell you, if there is one thing that I can definitively say is good about Washington, D.C., it's its public transportation. It's actually really good.
Yes, it's decent. Yes.
And compare that to any other major city. I'm not even comparing Miami. Forget Miami.
Well, we can't. Florida is not equipped. in so many ways. The way it is set up, the way it was developed, the way it was designed. Some things people just need to understand cannot be retrofit.
No.
That's just the way it is. Some things cannot be retrofit. And Florida, in terms of transit, is one of those things. But this guy, I don't get. So he's wanting to basically crush labor. That's where we're at. Okay.
Basic financial problem isn't just an issue for DC. It's an issue for every major transit system in the country, especially the ones that have worse service than WMATA. If politicians view transit jobs as more important than transit service, there's only one direction that the cost to taxpayers can go: up.
Okay, stop that. So do you see, everybody, this is part of media literacy. Do you see how he created a false dichotomy that you could either have better service, right? Or better for workers, that those two things cannot coexist. He presents it as an either or without any evidence other than he pointed out some employment statistics and then indicated there's too many people working there. We need to automate it.
But he didn't even indicate a problem. It's not, it's like it would be one thing if you
said, guy? Who did that study? It's terrible.
Well, again, he's an opinion. Dominic Pino.
Horrible journalism. Horrible that you presented a problem
that doesn't
exist, and then gave a solution that isn't needed. So But
this is the type, and let me tell you, that's quality video making that Washington Post wants to put out there. So this is the thing that they're complaining about. And listen, Bezos has spent a lot of money in DC. We all know that. This is not a problem. There's lots of problems in Washington, D.C. That's not one of them. The transit? No, that's actually one of the best parts of the city.
Yeah, the fact that that's what they're making a video, that's what they're trying to draw attention to, is some labor crushing initiative. The entire world is on fire. And yet, and by the way, I bet you that if you were to poll the people of DC, that this wouldn't even make their top 100 thing of what they would want done for them in their city. Not even. This wouldn't even be, it wouldn't even be considered. They'd probably start with things like, I don't know, affordability and housing and stuff like that. Maybe pay and,
This is another example, and this is why, like I said, the best thing that can happen to capitalism is socialism. Because if you have to compete, this is why I've always said, the true benefit to have had somebody like the 2015, 2016 incarnation of Bernie Sanders running this country is that he would have created such a wave of left populism in this country that the GOP would have had no choice but to move to the center, and that's where they would be today. But instead, because of this crooked crony austerity system that has befallen upon us, we are now witnessing videos from the Washington Post saying, cut labor from transit. Of all the things. And again, there's no problem there. Not the problem that they're indicating.
Good. You know what? I hope the people in DC, I want the transit workers in DC to come for his head on a pike. I want the transit workers in DC because they will let.
Can I also say one more thing? What in the ever-loving fuck is it about these Ivy League manicured men that have never, ever worked an honest day's labor day in their life, coming out there and telling people your job that you work with for manual labor, not worth shit. Let's automate everything.
Because they think that, and you know what? I wish for them a world where their whole world is automated and they don't have any human interaction and they don't have any services or anything that requires humans, and see how long they actually can last like that. Because I would give it maybe an afternoon